What happens when the emergency is over, but the atmosphere in your home still feels like a battlefield? If you're raising grandchildren who are neurodivergent or navigating the complexities of an FASD diagnosis, you know that traditional parenting advice often falls short. You aren't just looking for tips, you're looking for a strategy. That's why I want to invite you to a special free conference designed specifically for families like ours. Sponsored by Lydia Home, a pillar of the Chicago community since 1916, along with Safe Families for Children and the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services. This is a unique opportunity to learn evidence-based strategies for managing difficult behaviors and building a sanctuary for your family. Whether you join us in person or online, you will gain the tools you need to move from reactive firefighting to proactive leading. The mission of Lydia Home has always been to strengthen families to care for children. Now they are standing with us. Don't miss this chance to be equipped and encouraged. Register today by visiting the link on the banner at the top of our homepage at grandparents-raising-grandchildren.org. We are 2.7 million strong, still nurturing, still leading, and finally getting the support we deserve. What follows the words "I am" will eventually follow you. For many of our grandkids, that sentence ends with a burden, a mistake, or a victim. Today we're performing a hostile takeover of those labels. Brayden Black is an identity restorer who knows what it's like to build a facade of strength while feeling hollow inside. If you have a young adult in your care who's struggling to see the greatness beneath their circumstances, sit them down, hit play, and let's start the restoration. Welcome to Grandparents Raising Grandchildren, Nurturing Through Adversity. In this podcast, we will delve deep into the challenges and triumphs of grandparents raising grandchildren. As we navigate the complexities of legal, financial, and emotional support, I invite you to join us on a journey of exploring thoughts, feelings, and beliefs surrounding this growing segment of our society. Drawing from real stories and expert advice, we will explore the nuances of child rearing for children who have experienced trauma and offer valuable resources to guide you through the intricate journey of kinship care. We'll discuss how we can change the course of history by rewriting our grandchildren's future, all within a supportive community that understands the unique joys and struggles. This podcast was made especially for you. Welcome to a community where your voice is heard, your experiences are valued, and your journey is honored. I sat with my granddaughter, Athena, recently, and we talked about a friend of hers who was struggling. I realized in that moment I wasn't just giving her a pep talk. I was trying to give her a new pair of glasses. I was trying to help her see that the trauma her friend was projecting wasn't who he was, but what he had survived. This conversation with Brayden reminded me that we are the keepers of our grandchildren's stories until they're strong enough to write their own. This is the executive soul in action. Today's guest is 23-year-old Brayden Black, known as the Identity Restorer and Dream Catalyst. He's a life coach and a motivational speaker who has spoken to hundreds of youth and young adults across the U.S., helping them to rediscover their identity, eliminate limiting beliefs, find purpose, clarity, and help them see what they can't see in themselves yet. Brayden, you've spent years in the trenches with the rising generation, we'll call them, as an identity restorer and a dream catalyst. These are your quotes. You don't just speak to youth, you help them strip away the labels of fear and past mistakes to see the greatness they haven't recognized in themselves yet, right?
Correct, yeah.
And this work is exactly what it sounds like. It's a practical map that young adults can use to separate who they are from the circumstances they are in or have survived. So I want to ask you first how you got to this place, why this became so important to you. Tell us a little bit about your history.
Yeah, it became so important to me because this is my story of being in a place as a junior high school. I looked very different than I do now. I was extremely small, tiny, and I wouldn't say that I got bullied as a kid, but picked on, you could say, is a better word. And so because of that, that led to just this lack of self-confidence, identity, what have you, so many that this younger generation seems to really experience. That was me. And then I had an experience in high school where I was a soccer player. I got injured skiing. So that put me into PT, rehab, the gym, which is just all about trying to get you back to the physical state that you were before or better. And as I was in the gym, I noticed there were these people that I was like, I want that. Like, that looks cool to me. Like, they get respect. They get praise and admiration. Like, everybody looks up to them. And that's never something that I ever had. So I want that. So then I started pursuing this image that to the outside world seemed to bring all of this attention and praise and everything that I lacked. So I became known as the gym bro in high school. And I was that kid that blew up and was in the gym every single day, strict diet. All my friends thought I was crazy because their moms would make this elaborate food and these tasty treats, and I would never have any of them because I was like, it's too healthy. Like, I'm too healthy for this stuff. On the outside, I look great because as I got bigger, I started to get the praise, the accolades, the attention, the respect. I stopped getting picked on.
Everything you were looking for.
Everything I was looking for. But on the inside, I was an absolute mess. And it's just the outward facade of an extrinsic motivator of this is for them. Like, inherently working out and yes, taking care of my body is good. But the reason that I was doing it was for them. And so this led to a couple of years of being this way and still had this lack of confidence in myself. I was a huge overthinker. And that comes because you don't realize what you have the capacity to do. And there was one pivotal moment where I had some friends who saw something in me that I chose not to see in me. And this is an activity that I tell everybody to do because this is what this individual did for me. This friend, she told me, said, Brayden, I want you to go and I want you to write down every gift, characteristic, quality, attribute, talent that you have been given that you yourself can come up with or you've heard from somebody else. And I want you to write them down on a piece of paper so that you will always have them, so that you can always come back to them. And ever since I did that, I have a concrete list and I can visually see with my eyeballs on an external source. It's like my personal creed or my manifesto. That's what I tell people to call it. And one of my buddies, Todd Sylvester, he has a line that he's famous for. It says that the words that follow I am follow you. And so when you write, I am powerful, capable, confident, beautiful, smart, intelligent, what have you, that becomes you. But for so long, my I am statement was, I am not capable. I am not confident. I am not smart, beautiful, talented, loved, what have you. And so flipping the script and coming up with this powerful version of my own I am statement became a catalyst that has transformed me into doing what I'm doing now. And that's why I tell everybody else to do it.
Well, doesn't that point out the fact that when we put our minds to something that we want, whether it's good or bad, I use those words lightly, but that we can do it, whatever we want?
Absolutely. Henry Ford has a quote he's famous for, and he says that whether you think you can't or you think you can, you're right.
Yeah. Wow, that's a great quote. I'm going to remember that one. So you advocate for the idea that identity shapes every decision. But for many young adults that we're working with, their identity has been shaped by family trauma, by displacement, and very limiting beliefs, probably passed down also from their parents, which is why, as a kinship caregiver, I've come to understand that it's so important to understand this because we're passing these issues, addiction and mental illness, down from one family to the other. So I want to put a stop to that. I think it's so important that we raise our grandchildren to understand these things so that we can do that, which is what you're doing. So how do you think that we begin to apply a professional system of self-discovery like yours to a young person whose inner world feels like it's governed by a past that they didn't choose?
Mm-hmm. Great question. As you were speaking, this thought came into my mind is that everybody was born with an identity. Labels came after. So labels have been given and shaped and molded for young people and all of us we think that the labels become us. Whereas when you were born, you maybe had one or two labels, and that was son or daughter, child, like child of God, like you have some very important key foundational titles and labels when you were born. But ever since then, we just grow this added stack of labels from everybody else, what other people have told us, family members, friends, and then we've attached those to us.
Very true. Very
And
true.
so in a process of self-discovery, I was talking about this actually with a friend last week on a podcast, and we were talking about the concept of stories and how stories, especially from a caregiver's perspective, parent, grandparent, cousin, uncle, aunt, what have you, that stories have a powerful way of teaching principles to help individuals uncover who they are or what they have the capacity to do. And I'll give you, just as a person of faith, a story, like an example of this is we have the Bible. And what is it compiled of? A list of stories. God did not just say, I'm going to give you a bunch of principles. I'm going to give you stories to help teach you the principle. And so as God, the Father, the master of helping people to uncover and realize who they are, I want to take the master's approach and use stories as a method to help teach correct principles. Because if we all know Deuteronomy and Exodus and they're laying out all the temple, like all the boring stuff and the metrics, like nobody reads that. And so if you get your favorite stories and you think about the principles that come from them, that's how he does it. And so if you as a caregiver want to help teach and uncover and help an individual to see something that they yet don't. Stories I have found have become one of the most powerful ways to be able to convey those powerful messages.
So true. So that's one of your practical tools for separating a person's value from their fear about past mistakes and limiting beliefs. I know that when I share a story about something I did or believed when I was young and how I discovered through my own experience and my belief that something that I came to believe about myself, and I share that story with my kids, that's way more powerful than telling them what to do.
Yeah.
Right? How do we move from how do you think we teach a child to move from becoming a victim of circumstance to an executive of our own thoughts and emotions?
The first thing that comes to my mind is you have to be an example of doing it, or else there is going to be it's possible, and they can learn it, and kids learn things that their parents didn't teach them all the time. But if you want a powerful catalyst for faster and more powerful change, then you have to be someone who isn't a victim. Somebody who is a master at controlling your own emotional response to certain circumstances or situations, because you're exactly right that we don't have control over every circumstance. There are a lot of things that are out of our control, but the one thing that is within our control is how we think about it and how we respond to it. And when you choose to be the one to respond to a circumstance you had no control over, you become the captain.
So something came to me while you were saying that is that I can explain to a grandchild how I live that example out in real life. Say, for example, when I feel like someone isn't treating me well, rather than accept that, I can find a kind way to respond to them. In fact, a situation comes to mind with my granddaughter. She has a friend that she bonded with who has similar disabilities, and they've come to a lot of run-ins as they've gotten to know each other. We moved to a new home, a new location 6 months ago. So she's making new friends. And her first response was, I'm not going to even look at him anymore. He's mean. He's a bad kid. He's trouble. I said, think about it, Athena. That's my granddaughter's name. Think about it. If you've probably done something similar Do you want someone to say you're a bad person because you did this? Think of what he's gone through. He's gone through a horrible traumatic experience with his father who he's not living with, and it's damaged him. It's hurt him. It's made him react in ways that he doesn't probably even understand himself. So one thing you can do, instead of creating more hate in the world, you can pray for him. You can send loving thoughts his way and let him know, hey, I love you. I really do. I really want to be friends with you, but this hurts me, and that's why I can't be with you. If you can work on that, we can try to be together because I really would like to have a friend. I'd really like you to be my friend, right?
Yeah.
That's
And
a way of
you,
walking them through
yes, you
real
walked them through it.
experiences.
And at the beginning, you were almost going into a personal story of sharing a time when you walked through the same thing.
Yeah.
Again, a concept of I'm teaching you from real life lived experience, because that's something as a member of this younger generation and having worked with so many is that when somebody can be real, authentic, and genuine, stories have a powerful way of giving those. And if I was your grandson and you were my grandma, there's another concept of we are the same blood.
Yeah.
We are
We're
the
family.
same person, family. And so me sharing this story gives a almost like an added
Right.
strength and credibility,
So true.
if you will,
So true.
in that story.
And after what you said, it made me think I can use that experience, but by also adding on a situation where I remember doing that as a child would be the added um, way of making it more heartfelt. It isn't just a lesson; it becomes a story from the heart, from blood, from a blood relative.
Yeah.
You're saying. Wow, that's powerful. Before I move into the systematic questions that I want to ask you and that I ask every guest for my book research, I want to make sure that the young adults listening and the grandparents listening know where to find your coaching program. You have a coaching program, don't you?
Correct. Yeah. So my most, you could say out there spot, the one that I'm the most active on is just on Instagram. It's just _Brayden.black. And there I post just a bunch of videos and self-help and just ideas and mentalities and concepts that are I found super helpful for me and for a lot of other individuals. And so we're getting a website built right now, but until then, feel free to follow and just DM me. And I always respond to every message that I get from somebody. So that's how people can reach out to me.
Great. Thank you. And I will share those links in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you.
I've told my listeners that this episode is really a gift for young adults in their care. Is there a specific video or resource that you think that they should first watch together? Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to share a quick note I received from a listener named Laurel this week. She just downloaded our 72-hour survival kit, and she wrote something that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. She said, I miss my time alone, that quiet time in the morning and evening before and after work. It struck me because so often we think preparedness is just about gear or water filters, but Laurel reminded me that what we're really trying to protect is our peace, our time, our sense of self. I'm currently writing a chapter for the new book about this exact struggle, reclaiming that invisible CEO mindset, and I want to hear from you. If you had an extra hour of found time tomorrow morning, time that belonged only to you, what is the one thing that you do that you haven't done in months? Seriously, hit pause or wait till you're parked and email me at laurabrazan@grandparents-raising-grandchildren.org. I'm collecting these stories to make sure this book lets the real world know about the burnout we're all feeling. All right, let's get into today's show. Thanks for listening.
There is one on my Instagram that I have pinned so that everybody that goes to it will see. It's at the very top. It's me doing an interview with this lady. She's a friend of mine. Her name is Gwen, and she has an amazing, amazing story and incredible. She also does social media as well. Her tag is, I'll shout her out, is to her catchphrase. It's called Chronically Blessed. And her thing is,
Great
don't
name.
wait to be healed to be happy.
Ooh.
And she has an incredible story. And so anyways, we were talking and there's a clip in there at the very top. It's one of the 3 that I've pinned at the very top of my page where she goes into she has an autoimmune illness that is pretty debilitating. And she remembers a time where she was at home. And I think for so many that are receiving care or feel like they're just in a state where they feel like a burden to so many people who are struggling. And she goes through this really, really cool experience she had with her mom in helping her to realize that to be cared for is a blessing, not a burden. And I think for anybody listening that feels like I am a burden or I have a problem with said thing and it's hard for me to let that out or other people help me, it's an incredible story and I encourage everybody to go watch it. It's really cool.
I think I'm going to put that statement on my granddaughter's mirror. I might write it in lipstick or something.
Do it.
Because I keep telling her she's got some, I'm not going to go into it here, but that's a powerful message for her. Well, here's the systematic question I have for you.
Sweet.
You work with these youth across the U.S. What do you think is the biggest blind spot in our current youth support infrastructure that ignores the identity crisis of children coming out of traumatic kinship situations?
Yeah, that's such a great question because you never know who you're sitting across from and what they're experiencing or struggling with. And so when I think about where we are, so many people there are systems in place with schools and whatnot, but a two-facet thing that I see with that is either number one, the kids don't trust it and that it will help them, or number two, they don't feel comfortable or vulnerable enough to go out and share what those things are with the help that is already there in that infrastructure.
So what would be the bridge do you think, for youth to feel that connection? How can we bridge our professional lives, school, business, whatever it is, with real life?
Yeah.
Because
Great
that's
question.
kind of where the problem lies, right? For
Right.
kids, any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So this is something that I have always wanted to do and am starting to do more of, but these assemblies and school things where you have a young person such as myself to be able to come out and give a message to the school that's sharing this story and that's having members of that district or school who do this thing come out and me just kind of take the show away with them as this is what my story is and probably a lot more. Yeah, I bet you that the people in this infrastructure have had many of the same, if not experiences, as these young people that they want to come in. But my question to them would be, well, how often do they share that with people? And are they going out and are they vocalizing it? Are they doing school? Are they taking time out of the school to do assemblies and presentations and just talks to help them see this? Because I don't think it's vocalized enough. But if it was, I think people would, again, that would help those two facets. Number one, trust the system more, but then the individual would then feel more comfortable and open sharing because they're like, oh, this dude just spoke in front of like 1,000 high school kids. He's struggling or did struggle with the same thing I did. And this program is here right at the school. Like, let me go talk to this guy. So communication for me is just a huge thing that I don't think is done enough, but would help a ton.
Agreed. And it says that a true leader, the leaders that have the greatest respect, I am learning, are the ones that actually share their true vulnerability. So I think it always starts with one person. And if we were to have with one other person and an agreement that we share that person shares that with another person, then pretty soon we have pact that begins to be lived in our school systems and in our friendship groups. That's inspiring to me. Just made me think of maybe doing that in my own social group. Actually, my friends are ones that I can share everything with and that don't judge me anyway. So I don't have a whole lot of friends, but it's the way I live. It's the way I have to live. Great point. So let's talk about the taboo question. It's so often taboo to talk about the real doubt and anxiety that kids feel towards the parents who aren't there. What do you think is a safe way of acknowledging that pain without letting it become a limiting belief that defines their future?
So I've noticed that for individuals that don't talk about things, it's like it just festers and it just gets worse. Now, there are a lot of reasons, valid reasons, why
Yes.
individuals choose not to or feel constrained, like they can't let it
Yes.
out. And to
Yes.
anybody that is listening that feels that way, I have so much respect and just I feel for you.
Mm.
And that's one of the first things that I feel like I always
Yeah.
want to say is wherever you're at right now, you are not the exception. Like you are not somehow different than everybody else who has ever
Yeah.
been through a circumstance like this. And you will be okay. And it's okay to be where you are. It's not necessarily a desirable place and we want to help you get out, but where you are at right now, you are okay. And we will help you to get out of there. And now for helping an individual that comes from, as I believe your question was saying, like parents that have removed themselves from.
Or incarcerated, or
Yeah.
we have a situation like that going on ourselves.
Yeah.
I just feel for our young grandchildren who, especially our 10-year-old, because, she's just getting to that age where socially we're so concerned about how we appear to other people. Well, as you're saying, we just need to break that concept and then crack that egg open and say, that's where you're starting off in the wrong spot to begin with. But there's a lot of shame around what their parents have done, are doing, or the pain in your heart when your parent just disappears or abandons you for another family or leaves you because they're ashamed of themselves. And that what it does to a child, it destroyed me as a kid. And unfortunately, because my family didn't talk about it and I live with that shame all of my life, I'm just breaking through that now. But if we can share that with these kids at a young age, maybe they don't have to live with that all their lives.
Yeah. So some things that come to me is you are not your circumstances. I think again, back to labels, we label ourselves based off of circumstances that have happened to us. Now, that's valid. And again, as I said, that's normal for an individual to be able to do that. Is it healthy? We can see obviously not. But there becomes a point where if we as caregivers or support or individuals can help individuals to see that you and your circumstances are two different things. Do not label yourself as somebody who is the product of that, because that only brings you to a more negative space. Again, going back to this personal creed manifesto, it's not I am a product of my circumstance, like I am the circumstance. That's not who you are. The circumstance happened to you. And another way to reframe that, as a lot of people will say, circumstances happen to me. Well, I say, well, do circumstances happen for you? And just reframing, well, how do you think about said circumstances? Because if circumstances just happen to me, I'm a victim. If I now beat the circumstance, then it happens for me. The other thought that I had come in is I feel like some of the greatest people in history were some people that just had the greatest, hardest experiences growing up. And again, going back to this concept of stories, because I love stories, is if you are somebody that like parents incarcerated, parents have left, abandoned you for some other relationship or family, I love comeback stories. I love stories of real life people that have had similar experiences, because here's the thing, anybody that's experiencing something right now, it's not the first time in history that this has ever happened. You're not alone. And so for me, when we talk about the concept of role models, people who have been in our shoes and have lived our stories, if I'm somebody that's in this position as a kid, they become my role models and they become the person who I surround my life with. Well, what did they do? How did they not play victim? How did they go out and chase their dreams and overcome their circumstances? Because that person becomes me.
It's a living tool.
Yep. Yeah.
I worked in a girls' treatment program for quite a few years, and I always tell people that when you've lived an experience, no matter how difficult it's been, if you get through that experience, then those people that are going through it will trust you way more than someone that just tells them a story.
Yeah.
about something that didn't happen to them.
Right. Totally.
Well, Brayden, would you ever want to be president of this country?
To be
We need
honest,
more young leaders.
yeah, to be honest, not really. But like, I would love to be on a, like, again, just help. And if that looks like traveling all around the country and speaking to every school and just reaching as many people as possible, that I am down for. The politics side and all that, that's not really how my brain works. I would probably fail as a leader to do that, but to inspire
I don't
and to
know.
try
You
and
might,
uplift,
I don't know. Politics is still people.
it's
But
true.
if you were COO of the country, Brayden, what one identity restoration program would you mandate in every high school to ensure that trauma impacted youth are equipped for greatness rather than just survival?
I would have monthly seminars at every school, programs, if you will, where they have designated, I'm just using me as an example, where they have somebody like myself or somebody that feels trained and qualified and has been in this similar circumstance
Mm-hmm.
to outlay this foundation
Great idea.
and be
Love
there
that idea.
as somebody that is connected to that school, almost like as a designated person,
Yeah.
and to be able to have a staff that's equipped to like roll out this program and be there as coaches or counselors or whatnot, what have you,
Mm-hmm.
where
I
this
agree.
this concept is in place where people feel comfortable coming to
Brayden,
it.
that's
But
what you need to get started. I think that you grandparents that are out there listening, if you have a young person in your care, I'm sure if you reach out to Brayden, that if he can't be your kid's designated coach or person, that you know someone that's been through an experience that their grandchild might be going through and connect them, because it's that voice of experience that really does affect a child.
totally.
I think that's a great program. That's what you need to get going.
Thank
Not that you
you.
probably
Well,
don't have enough on your plate.
I am a dreamer, and so I do
Yeah.
dream to make some big things happen, and if that is one of them, and then Jesus take the wheel and we'll make it happen. So it's gonna, yeah,
It's like a mentorship program.
totally.
Okay. You might have to add that to our plate, Brayden. Well, it's been wonderful speaking with you. I've so
Thank
enjoyed
you.
meeting you, and I hope we stay in touch.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Laura. I love getting to meet people like you that just want to inspire and help and bless. And I love your demographic as well of this kind of maybe sub-step older than my generation, but of people that have the ability to make so much of an impact and can do so much good. And you already are. And so loved having this conversation and just getting to explore this a little bit more with you. So thank you.
Me too. Stay in touch.
We will do.
That was such a great message. Now, if you're with a grandchild, please have them listen to that message. Even if you're not, I want you to grab a piece of lipstick or a dry erase marker and go to your grandchild's mirror. And I want you to write one of Brayden's I am statements there. But before you do that, ask yourself, what is the I am statement that you're currently living? You can't restore their identity if you're still labeling yourself a victim of your own situation. What is your creed? Write it down and then let it lead you. Next week, I hope you'll join us for a conversation with a woman who is a literal unicorn for the invisible CEO. Paula Yost is both a seasoned attorney and a licensed mental health clinician, meaning she knows exactly how the system works and exactly how it breaks our hearts. We'll be discussing her upcoming book, Tumbleweeds: How to Be an Advocate for Your Children and Yourself in a Failing System. If you've ever felt like a tumbleweed, uprooted by life and tossed around by schools, courts, and agencies, Paula is here to help you stop tumbling and start taking root. We're diving into the unapologetic truth about IEPs, foster care trauma, and how to fight for your family without losing your soul. Hit that follow button right now so you don't miss this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 2.7 million strong. We're still nurturing and we're still here. We're stripping away the labels of fear so our children can recognize the greatness we've seen all along. Your heart is the most important asset on the balance sheet. Keep nurturing, keep leading, and I'll see you in the next boardroom. I recently received an email from a listener named Laurel. At 61, Laurel and her husband, who's navigating his own health challenges, are now raising their grandson after a series of unimaginable losses. In 2022, they lost their son to a fentanyl overdose. Then just a year ago, they lost their daughter the same way. The morning after, they'd stayed up late together planning her son's 3rd birthday party. Laurel told me that she lives one day at a time. She's dealing with the financial strain of using her 401k to survive, the physical toll of caregiving, and the emotional weight of what ifs. But she also said something that I want everyone listening to hear. She said that just telling her story to people who can relate is refreshing. That's exactly why we do this. Whether you're navigating addiction in your family, raising a grandchild you didn't expect to be raising, or just trying to find your footing after a loss, we need to hear your story. There's always someone else out there who needs to hear that they aren't the only one. Your experience is a lifeline for someone else. So if you have a story to share, or if you're looking for that community Laurel found, please join our Facebook group or sign up for our newsletter on our website at grandparents-raising-grandchildren.org. Let's keep relating, and let's make sure no one walks this path in silence. Thank you, Laurel, for your courage to share your story with others.